Hey, man.
How's it going?
Does it feel like it's a little sunny in here to you?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Do you think that it is affecting your work performance?
Yes. Do you wonder if we could close those blinds?
Yep. Look how easy that is, boys and girls. Just shut the curtain. Hey, it's Code and Blind here to do our projections for week 10 and what we think the contract holdouts will be. It's that easy, Jerry. We just figured it out. All you got to do is close the blinds. You don't have to tear down your stadium. You don't have to start making claims that you're better off without Dak and all these things. Seek some help. Hey, Code. 3 weeks now, 4 weeks since we've done this, because the last time that we did a big
Yeah,
show was talking to Nate. So how have you been, man?
it's been a minute. Yeah, things have been good. Things have been progressing.
Yeah.
In November now. It's already 2024 is almost over. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's so my wife asked me today, how much longer is fantasy football going? And I was like, well, football's done in 3 weeks. And she's like, well, why
Yeah,
doesn't it, or it's football's like only 3 months of the year.
yeah.
And I got to turn the volume down on this thing. And she's like, so why does it feel like fantasy football is just always happening? And I was like, kind of how it is, but it really just ramps up for these 3 months in particular. But yeah, it's crazy to
Yeah,
think that, it really is only 17 weeks long and we're past that halfway
yeah,
point at this point. The season
yeah.
is progressing quickly. So we've got the weekly recap for you done by Codes. We've got the week preview done for you by me. And now we just wanted to have a bigger show and talk about holdout projections. So for those of you that are playing along at home, holdouts occur at the end of week 14 if a player's in the top tier of their position. The new change to this really is the fact that it's based off of points per game, and a player has to play 10 games minimum to qualify for a holdout. And the reason we did that is because it felt like certain people, especially in the running back room, were just making it to the holdout tier because they survived the season more than anything else. And so after week 10 of play, or 10 weeks of play, we wanted to check in and see where the holdouts are at. So for the quarterbacks, it's the top 6 players, running backs and receivers, top 12 players, tight ends, it's the top 4 players based off points per game. And then halfway down that line, you're broken into superstar tiers and star tiers. So the superstar tiers are the top half of that group. So top 3 quarterbacks, top 6 running backs, top 6 receivers, and top 2 tight ends. And the stars are the next 3 tiers. And the way that it works is you take the top, so let's do quarterbacks. Top 6 quarterback players, add their contract for this year total, divided by 6 equals blank. That blank is how much a superstar wants, but people will hold out if they're not paid 60% of that. Basically, if the player feels like they're being underpaid, they will then hold out. That will then give the team the ability to re-sign them to a new deal without it being one of their roster moves, let them go into free agency and get a compensatory pick, or trade them away to another team with that team that's receiving them immediately then signing them to a deal. Are you caught up? I'm caught up. I didn't even fucking
Yeah.
practice that. I just fucking
No,
winged it. That was
you
good.
got it. Two thumbs up. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
it was
do
good. So
I do like the holdout changes because I think we did vote on something this past off season.
yeah, some minor
And
tweaks.
yeah,
Yeah, some minor tweaks. So the tight ends are now just the top 4 instead of the top 6, because you had some random 5th or 6th guy hold out for no reason.
yeah,
The points per game is a big piece. But just wanted to get a refresher for those of you that are new like Nate, or those of you that don't know how to read like K Migs. And so let's just kind of get right into it. We'll start with the quarterbacks. This was messy, by the way, going through this. Some of these were really clean. Some of these were scary. You'll see some major differences between what we look at with quarterback, running back, and tight end, and then wide receivers, where it just gets absolutely nuts. So we'll start at the
yeah,
quarterback position. Currently holding out Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels. So, as a reminder, the only way a player will not hold out when they're in that tier is if they are on a rookie deal. If your team drafted them with a rookie draft pick, they will not hold out unless it happens twice. So, for example, let's pretend that this is how this season ends. Jaden Daniels ends at QB6. If he would then have an attempt to hold out on his record. If next year he's a top 6 quarterback, then he would hold out. It has to happen twice in someone's rookie contract in order for them to hold out. If someone was drafted by a team and then cut and then re-signed, that's no longer their rookie deal. It goes away. So this is what we've got so far. Baker at quarterback 3, currently $52 in this year, then 26 and 26. He's quarterback 3, so he's actually going to demand a superstar payout of $116 if he stays in that QB3 spot, raising the price tremendously for Morgan here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's weird because the grandfathered startup contracts are starting to go away. So like we're seeing all of these new contracts come through, and it's like, oh, this guy's on such a great cheap deal. But it's like Baker's production on the year, like he's what, QB2 on the year or QB3?
QB3,
like, and
yeah.
He's doing it now, or he's still like producing without Godwin and Evans, and wait until Evans comes back. I mean, I think it's totally feasible to see him finish strong. Maybe not QB3, but it's like for what he's getting paid right now, like he definitely deserves more.
Yeah. And Morgan writing that contract and front loading it, and then 26 the 2 years after that, you almost not guarantee, right? But you almost guarantee there's a really good chance that he holds out in the next 2 years. If he doesn't hold out this year, which is kind of the risk of that, because had you spread that out, it might not have been that way. But with this contract being front loaded, the minimum for the top 3 quarterbacks is $70. So he would have had to be paid $70 to not hold out. But since he's in the top 3, it'd be $116. Jaden Daniels, again, not going to hold out because of the rookie deal, but that could go on his record of sorts as he would attempt to hold out and stay there. But other potential quarterbacks that are in the running, Darnold at QB 11 right now, he seems like he's going back down, so maybe not so much to worry about there. Nix is looking good. Doesn't hold out because, again, the quarterback deal, the rookie deal, but at QB 10. And Geno, who was a holdout before at QB 12, I just kind of went 6 more levels deep, and these were the guys that came up. I don't know that any of those 3 there really shoot up to break into the top 6. For me, the question here really is, I think Baker's going to stay there just because it's how the year is going. But I really wonder where Daniels falls in this. Does Daniels end up holding on to 6? Does Daniels end up going a little bit further? Top 6, by the way, currently Lamar, Burrow, Baker, Allen, Hurts, Daniels. Then you've got Kyler, Brock Purdy at 8, Kirk Cousins at 9, Nix, Darnold, Geno to kind of round out the quarterbacks there. Now, of course, there's other things that have changed, right? There's players that are hurt or not playing anymore, and this and that. But none of those really qualify in that top tier. Everybody's through their bye week. I think is it the Cardinals are on bye this week? So Kyler will in theory slide back a little bit, but Kyler, Purdy, Cousins not in risk of holding out. Lamar, Burrow, Allen, and Hurts are really setting the tempo for how much the contracts cost, which is causing Baker to hold out. So,
I was gonna chime in after you were done. All those names you mentioned, like the top 7 QBs in fantasy, are all being paid, I guess, for the context of our league, what would be fair or worth it. But Baker is right there. He's right there with them in terms of production, and yet he's on a cheap $52 deal this year, or 56, whatever it was. So
that's the fun question then too. Is do you consider paying Baker next year $116 in the first year?
Yeah, I mean that's up to Morgan, I guess. I don't really know what his cap situation looks like. We're focused on the ticket to ride over here.
And so just as another tidbit reminder, so we write our own contracts now versus like that scale that existed before, but with the holdout, the minimum you'd pay somebody in the first year is what they're demanding is the holdout. So it's not like you could say, fine, I'll sign him to a new deal and I'll make it 5 years, but the first year I'm only going to pay him 25 and I'll backload it. No, the first year has to be 116 minimum. And so this could be a situation where, a cap hungry team can't afford to re-sign him. So maybe he walks in as a comp pick, or maybe he gets traded to a team that can pay him the 116 in the first year, but then front loaded and 20 in the next 2 years or something low. Or but how much would you pay for that? Would you rather let him go for a second round pick, or you just let him walk completely?
It'd be a back end second, right? Because the comp picks are like the 213.
0.13, 0.14, So
I mean,
in theory, you let him go for 2.13.
This is live reaction for me, by the way. Like Brian.
Yeah, Coda's not seen this information at all.
Yeah, so this is live reaction for me, and man, I'm just I'm obviously excited for this year, But like I think I've never been more excited for an off season because like we got free agent preview coming up. I don't know, maybe in a couple weeks.
Yep.
We're doing holdouts right now, but it's like free agency might be popping, and a lot of teams are cap struggling, and then some teams have a lot to spend.
Yeah. It is going to be a big shakeup plus the realignment. So that's our quarterbacks. Let's take a look at what we got next on the list, and that's our running back. So a lot more going on here, but interesting. So top 12. Here, the top 6 are demanding the superstar payout, and that those numbers on the screen are wrong. I apologize. So we'll go through it quickly. Current holdouts: Bijan would hold out. This is his second attempt after last year. So Bijan would hold out as a superstar, and Chuba Hubbard would hold out as a superstar. Currently, where they're at, they would demand $56 in their first year. So not back-breaking, but for a running back, do you want to pay that? That is not Bijan there in the bottom left corner. That is Jahmyr Gibbs. Who the fuck made this? I'm going to fire our entire graphics department. Jahmyr Gibbs. This would be his first attempt at holding out, so it wouldn't happen. And James Cook sneaks in there at running back 11 and would be holding out in the star tier, which they demand $34. So James Cook, year one, being 34, Chuba and Bijan sitting there at 56. Maybe some optimism that Chuba Hubbard falls out of the superstar tier with Jonathan Brooks coming back, and then he's got that injury in the kind of weird way he fell in the game in London. But that's where it gets fuzzy, is like, Chase is probably doesn't want him to fall out of the superstar tier. Chase probably wants him to hold down as a superstar because that means he continues to put points on the board for him after his massive game this last week. But you kind of don't want them to do too well. Potential holdouts. Who would have thought that we'd be talking about J.K. Dobbins as a possible RB1 coming into this year? So he's close at RB13, right on the edge there. Kenneth Walker by $1. $34. He's being paid $34 this year. And with him being $34, he would hold out. I think I got to look at the details with that. I actually think because his contract goes up, he actually wouldn't hold out. So he shouldn't be on here. I got to take a look and review. Ramondre at 21, a little further away from the pack, but still there. I just did the entire next 12 players. The running back order, top to bottom, is King Henry, Alvin Kamara, Saquon, Bijan, Chuba, Gibbs, Kyron, Connor, Mixon, Brees, James Cook, and A-Chain slipping into spot 12 there. So
was it Ramondre a holdout last year? I don't remember exactly.
He was a holdout. He was a holdout last year, or the year before, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if I wasn't sure if they could hold out twice. I haven't read the bylaws in a minute. But I guess they could hold out back-to-back years. You're saying, okay?
Yeah, I maybe they can't. I don't know. I forget, man. I don't.
We'll
this
check
is
it and we'll
the rare. I don't know off the top of my head. It's a fun one. Please hold.
Well, if Blind can't find it and you guys are watching this, just don't look at Ramondre for this part. But yeah, maybe they can actually.
Players who've held in the past will not hold out for the next 2 seasons, even if they are below the threshold. So yeah, so I guess Ramondre would not hold out. God, our graphics team sucks this week.
Just trying to save Cam a heart attack.
Yeah, so J.K. Dobbins, I think, is actually the only potential person here. I should just put like a big black thing on the screen this way you can't see anymore. So yeah, Ken Walker and Ramondre Stevenson probably safe from holding out, unless I'm misinterpreting the bylaws. So it'd be Bijan, Chuba, Bijan number 2, which is actually Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook, and Dobbins on the cusp there. It just gets fun because how much do you want to pay these guys? I mean, if you're paying them in that superstar tier, $56, that's a decent percentage of your cap room. And the running back tier tends to be more volatile than I feel like other tiers, right? Like you tend to have the same couple guys at the top of the list, but it doesn't really end up going the same way with running backs, at least not consistently. So do you pay them that much money or maybe not?
I mean, if you're asking me, I think it's obviously tough for the teams that are cap strapped, but it's like you think about like the contrast from like the real world and real life and fantasy. Like running back's always been like the anchor in fantasy football. Like if you have a good running back, you're set, and it's like just how much do you really want to pay these guys? Because in the real world, the running backs being devalued and stuff. It's very interesting because I mean, you look at a guy like James Cook. It's like if Cook's demanding like what 34, it's like
Yep.
that's literally like $2 extra on his contract for like the next year value or whatever. So it's like Rick might scoff at that and be like, "This is fine," you know.
Yeah,
But
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
other teams might not be, so reluctant to just hand these guys the fake fab.
Yeah. Especially in a situation like Allen, right, where Allen is already cap strapped with no depth. Now he's got to double Bijan's contract next year. Is that worth it, or can he sell him for a first to another team? I can imagine he's worth a first. You know, even in that team has to then sign him to a whole new deal. But like, hey, I don't have to use a roster move. I don't have to fight for him in free agency. You know, maybe I get him a little bit less in free agency, but hey, if I send a first, I get the guy now on the deal that I want. Is where it gets fun. The next one, I skipped wide receivers because of how much of a shit show it is. And we're going to talk about tight ends. Nobody holding out. They're demanding a stupidly small amount of money just because of how cheap that tier is. You're welcome on that Kelsey restructure, everybody. So Tucker Kraft, the only person at risk of holding out, he's tight end 7. He's currently being paid $3. He would demand $17 should he get to tight end 4 there. And that number would actually slightly go down because it's based off of who ends in the top 4. Kraft bringing his $3 contract there would bring it down a bit. So Tucker Kraft, Morgan, keep an eye on that guy. He's bad for the locker room. So where it gets really, really, really messy is wide receiver. And we have Cam Hun to blame for this. Wide receiver 1 and 2. By the way, just to keep consistency, the top 4 tight ends, I think, were Kittle, Bowers. So Bowers would have a point against him. Kittle, Bowers, Kittle's, Bowers, Kelsey, and somebody not important. Some scrub.
Okay.
I didn't write it down. So we have Cam to thank for how much of a mess wide receivers are. So let me pull up my notes. So your top 12 wide receivers, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson combined are making $350. Terry McLaurin, who's wide receiver 4, is making $80. Garrett Wilson just got re-signed to a new contract this offseason. Amon-Ra St. Brown. CeeDee Lamb, another $150. So here's where our people are at right now, the people who would currently hold out. 4 of them on rookie deals. Drake London's not on a rookie deal. I picked him up. Drake London's on a rookie deal. It's a lie. Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, and Jaden Reed are all on rookie deals. So this would all be their first attempts at holding out. Drake London would hold out at wide receiver 5 because I drafted him in the startup draft. It wasn't a rookie deal. It was a 5-year deal. Yeah, I thought it was because it was a 5-year deal. I remember. And then Darnell Mooney at wide receiver 8. So the 2 Atlanta receivers would hold out. They would demand, Drake London at this point in time would demand 72. Darnell Mooney would demand 43 based at being at wide receiver 8. Again, Neighbors, Flowers, and Reed would attempt to, but they're not eligible due to their rookie contract. If they hit it in back-to-back years, they could out of their rookie year. Here's where it gets scary. Look at all these people. So what I did is I just kind of went down the next 12. So with the quarterbacks, I did the top 6 holdouts and said, hey, here's the next 6 that could hold out. And then with the running backs, I said, hey, here's the top 12. Here's the next 12 that could hold out. Look at the potential people at the wide receiver room that could hold out. 9 of them. So there are 9 people between wide receiver 13 and 24 that could easily sneak up and try to hold out. Khalil Shakir, George Pickens, Cortland Sutton, God forbid, and Nico Collins, who's been out for 4 or 5 weeks and is still a top wide receiver 24. They would all hold out immediately if they made it into that top tier. Then you have Brian Thomas Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith-Njigba, Josh Downs, and Ladd McConkey, who would also attempt to hold out, but they're all on their rookie deals, so they wouldn't necessarily hold out, but it would put them in the column of doing it. So you've got these 9 guys who are on the cusp, and these 5 guys, 3 of them who are on the cusp based off their contract, and then 2 that would do it. And it's really from those inflated contracts from Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and CeeDee Lamb, the 3 of them being paid almost $500, just skyrocketing what the players would demand. And that's where these startup contracts are going to come back and bite us in the butt a little bit, where they have the potential to shake things up. I think you go back to some of these other things like that Baker one is a lot, and losing Bijan's 5-year rookie deal to a holdout kind of sucks and this and that. But this is insane. The fact that we've got, in a sense, 14 people in the running for holding out for 12 spots is nuts.
And you look at every name or every picture on these two slides. It's like all of these are like productive young receivers.
Yep.
Like I mean, Courtland Sutton's probably the one that's not, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, I would argue that nobody should want to get rid of. No GM should want to willingly get rid of any of these guys. So having a strike against them as a holdout would, one, be rough, but then having them hold out in general, it's like, okay, great. Now they got a literal CeeDee Lamb situation on our hands.
Yeah. And the fact that the elevation of it, right? Especially because they're all young too, right? This isn't a situation potentially. So, when Geno held out for $55 a few years back, it's like, all right, well, you know what? It's a starting quarterback in Superflex. I'll re-sign him to a 1-year deal for $55. Let's keep it $150 and let's keep it moving. Every single one of these dudes, you can make some arguments here or there, right? I mean, maybe not Sutton for me. The other 13 guys on this list, I'd sign them all for 5 years. Sure, fine. You held out, sounds good. 5-year contract. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors, I want you here forever. Jaden Reed, I want you here forever. Nico Collins, I want you here forever. BTJ, I want you here forever. Like, why would you not? And so then that escalates like crazy. But hey, you lock them up, But then how do you manipulate the cap where you think that they might this or they might that? Because otherwise you end up in a situation where maybe they try to hold back out again as soon as they're eligible to. So do you backload the cap to not let that happen? Do you front load it, not worry? Like, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
Well, and I know next year is next year, and teams are gonna have to figure out their cap situations. But I think like the Ja'Marr Chase and Jefferson contracts next year are like $300 a piece or something like that. It's insane because of the restructure. Same for like Mahomes. If Mahomes is worth like $350 next year, what's that going to do to the holdouts? The holdouts for next season.
Well, that's assuming they make it, right? I mean, I think you have to look at some of those mega contracts. If we quickly pull up, and I'll see if I can get it on the screen nice and pretty. But if we quickly pull up the spreadsheet and you look at the most expensive contract in a certain year, it's like you can almost say, like, how is a team going to pay that much money for one person? Like, do you cut them during the discount period and all that? So let's filter this. Let's try to get this on the screen, I guess, as much as I can, right? So here's the contracts pays, the most unutilized thing in the thing. Filter by values. I mean, there are 3 players paid to clear all. Let's do, here's a top, couple players. Well, maybe let's just keep it 200-ish. So, Josh Allen 234. We can't tell this because it's really dark. But Burrow 353. Christian McCaffrey 254. Josh Allen 234. Hurts 198. JT 240. Jefferson 322. Murray 243. Chase 254. 338 for Mahomes. 243 for Kupp. 291 for Herbert. Like, how many of these guys get cut? How many of them get traded for pennies, right? So everybody's making fun of Cam for his cap situation, but he keeps saying the same thing over and over. Yeah, I'm negative $223. All I got to do is say, here's Justin Jefferson. I'll take a 4th, and he's fine. But is there a team? Is there a team with $332 in cap space that's willing to do that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
don't think so. Rick?
Well, I mean, I guess
Rick and Allen?
It all depends on what he's worth to you. One man's trash is another man's treasure, and it's like, you think about it, it's like, $322 next year for, arguably wide receiver 1 in fantasy. It's like, is the points that season worth more to you than the fictional cap that you have to stay under? It's
franchise tag him or something.
Well, prove it deal, RFA, franchise. I mean, even like with some of these like fat contracts, it's like, yeah, people could, if they want to mortgage the future away, re-sign him at that crazy amount, but push the dead cap into the future. Pull a Saints. Um, I mean,
Pull a ticket to
we'll
ride.
see how that goes. Is it
Yeah.
worth? What?
Pull a ticket to ride. You got all this dead
Yeah.
cap
I
in the
mean, I guess
future.
you could do that.
Or
Would not recommend.
the thing, yeah, that's where it's interesting too, is that you see, the implications went from, the heavens to the hell. We'll see if Cam is able to do it differently. I'm sure Cam has a plan. But it is tough. I swear I was fully prepared to try to grind it out. I'm glad I didn't. But I was prepared to try to grind it out, and it was not going to be fun. And so, will Cam be able to do that? When does that negative $300 cap hit catch up to the ticket to ride? And
Right.
yeah, it's tough. It's interesting. Anybody from this list in front of you that you would not be shocked to see make it to the holdout section here and kind of replace one of these guys in the back end?
I mean, well, all the rookies are exempt technically, right? So we would have to cross all of them out.
Right, but even getting to that tier where like they can make it up there and then put that check in the box of, hey man, next time this happens.
Good observation is that Pickens isn't actually on a rookie contract.
Right.
So yeah, Pickens would probably be the one I think that could actually hold out, because I mean the Steelers are a good ass team. Russell Wilson's not looking bad either.
Yeah.
So I mean I feel like Pickens the clear one there, clear alpha. That team's just, I mean, I don't know. I think they have as good a shot as anybody to beat the Ravens this week. I mean, I could see him continuing to produce. I'm not sure who else on this list is not on a rookie deal, but
yeah.
Nico Collins.
Sutton, Nico, and Shakir.
The fact that Nico is even on this list is like criminal, because he played like 4 games, but he like blew the fuck up in every one of them. So
you know what? That's the other thing too. So how many games did Nico play? Because he might not even qualify to be on this list now that I think about it, because it's 10 games after week 14. So let me see. Game log.
I mean, hopefully for Morgan's sake. I mean, Morgan's got a lot. He's got
nope,
a lot,
he's played in 5. He's played in 5 games, but it's by week 14. So Nico can't make the list. No, Nico can't make it because he has a bye in week 14. So he's played in 5 games. He's got 4 more to go. Okay. So Nico actually will not make the list no matter what, because it's a minimum of 10 games. So Nico is safe from a holdout. So there you go, Morgan.
That's good for Morgan.
So I think the two people. Yeah, right. I was gonna say Nico is a clear one to me to shoot right back up, but I guess not with that information. I think Shakir, just because he's wide receiver 13 right now, so he's right on the edge, could be close. But I do agree with you with Pickens. I think that Russ has made the offense look better, and Pickens has looked better. Pickens is at 14, 15. Pickens is at 16. You could also say the same thing for Brian Thomas Jr. at 14, that now that Kirk is down, maybe he starts doing more. Gabe Davis is still doing Gabe Davis things where he's got 20 points in 2. Lots of different ways that this could go.
Shakir is just so consistent. So I mean, yeah, like the thing is, like with a lot of the other guys, like they'll have their dud weeks and their blowout weeks, whereas like Shakir's like 5 for 50 every week, and it's like you keep putting up those numbers, like even if you're not going for 30 points a week, you're gonna end up in like the top 36,
Yeah, and then you also wonder too, how much does Amari Cooper either free him up, or does Amari get the targets now? But when you kind of have your guy who was your wide receiver one who's producing at that top 13 level now in a number 2 role, that could be great, but it could also be difficult at the same time, and who knows.
I mean, the Bills have a ton of injuries they're dealing with, and they've always, this whole year, they've been like, everybody eats, it's like, no, we're not force feeding Diggs anymore, you know what I mean? So everybody will get their targets.
I can't wait to watch that game. That's going to be such a good game to watch. Eagles play at 1, right? I think the Eagles play. No, we play Thursday. That's right. Yeah, we play Thursday. Yeah, that's great, because I don't have to worry about missing that game, because I can't wait to watch it. I'll probably watch it live. One of the only 4:00 game I've watched live in a few weeks. All right, final thoughts as we wrap this up. 30 minutes, not bad.
Yeah, this was fun to do. I mean, every year I love going into the holdout projections. I love going into the free agent preview. I think for Nate and Project, last year we had like a top 25 list created by Blind and I, where we went through like who we thought the teams would let go to free agency, and we make a list of that. Do you happen to have that like real quick on the spot or not, just so they could see it?
Do.
Yeah, because I was
sure
like, I think we had like what? Who was number one on that list? It's been so long.
Let's take a look. NGG League Archive. Was it a preseason thing or in the season?
I think it was during the season last year. We did an episode on the free agent preview, and we had like a top 25. I remember because you and I were like waffling between like Juju and Gabe Davis or something as like options. You remember that?
Yeah. Are we sure it was? Do we have power rankings? I did. I remember I made a whole fucking spreadsheet for power rankings. Why can't I find it?
That's okay.
No, it is not.
If you go on the YouTube channel, there's probably a video for it though. There's probably a video in the off season or in the late season where we did a free agent preview. Because I know that for like a lot of the teams that are in the playoff race.
Austin Eckler at number 1. Jesus Christ, over Saquon Barkley. Look at that. Austin Eckler, okay. Saquon Barkley. Justin, this list did not age well. Justin Fields at number 3. Geno Smith, Rashad White, Derrick Henry, Evan Ingram. Okay, well it aged all right. Darren Waller. Terrible. Darren Waller, number 12. Shout out to Waller. Best rapper.
But yeah, for you new fellas in this league,
AJ Dillon.
That don't have playoffs to look forward to.
Curtis Samuel.
Look forward to the offseason. Look forward to free agency. Look forward to holdouts.
Tommy DeVito rounding out the list.
Tommy DeVito. Shout out DeVito.
Shout out. Yeah, that was such a great question by Rick. How bad is Drew Lock if they keep rolling Danny Dimes out there?
Yeah.
But at this point, you probably just want him to just ride it out to the end. So who knows? Yeah. So we'll do something like that sometime soon. I love what Kane makes in the chat. I had the idea of like best value. It's going to be a passion project where I'll probably dive through every single draft that we've done for the last couple of years and see who's gotten the most value and come up with a top 10 list and maybe do that on stream. As we get closer to the playoffs, the bye week GMs get an interview and all that good stuff too, breaking down how the toilet bowl is going to go once we get closer. Whole bunch of things coming. Really looking forward to not the season ending, of course, but really looking forward to kind of how this is going. It's really starting to shape up. And so if you haven't watched the recap yet or the preview for the next week yet, they're good. I think are you not committed, right? That's such a weird word to use, but like I'm keeping mine bite-sized. You did yours bite-sized this week. I love the quick, give me the information and let me know what's going on. I think that I enjoy watching your recap more than I enjoy like scrolling through the stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's been more entertaining, and I think the preview's fun too. It's a nice bite-sized thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we hope that you guys are staying informed for it.
Yeah, and if you're not, fuck you. Put my sunglasses back on. That's going to do it for us. Open the blades. Open the blinds. Damn it. I blew it again. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Go Birds. Fuck the Commanders.
Go Birds.
That's all I got. See you, gentlemen.